Hi, and welcome to The Shit That Happens to Me, a podcast about life, love, and everything in between. I'm your host, Stacey Nye, psychologist, passionate storyteller, wife, mother, wannabe famous person. Now sit back and listen because I'm here to tell you about the shit that happens to me. Welcome to another episode of the Shit That Happens to Me podcast. I am so excited to be here today with my friend Ian McPhee. Hi, Ian.
Hey, Stacey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. It's the middle of the week. It's hump day. I'm ready for it to be over, though.
I know, really. I usually like to record later in the week, but my schedule's all changed. So this is cool. I've got my drink.
Yeah, it's like a nice.
I've got my dog in the background, so it's all good.
It's a nice midweek break in the evening, you know?
Definitely. So, Ian, you were on one of our previous episodes. You talked about your celebrity encounters.
Oh, that's right.
Greg Brady being a crumb.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Such an asshole. Yeah.
Such an asshole. Yeah. But no, that was really fun. I could talk about... Wait, what was that?
I have nothing good to say about Greg Brady, that's for sure. Or even what his real name is. I forgot.
I was trying to remember. Is it Barry Williams?
Barry Williams. That's it.
And then I was thinking, isn't that the name of like a singer also? Barry Williams?
You know what? Actually, it sounds like it might be.
So then I thought maybe it's not Barry Williams, but yeah, I think it is Barry Williams.
Yeah.
And
whoever the real washed up guy is, that was, had to do a production like that in Times Square, low budget. So
yeah. Well, I it must be tough being a child actor.
Yeah, true story, right?
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But I think some people come out of it and they're not always a douchebag, but
who I really love, who was a child actor and is still an actor and she's not a douchebag?
Who?
Mae Whitman.
Oh, all right. Nice.
So she was in Independence Day, which is one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
She was the president's daughter, this cute little, and I think she was the daughter in Sleepless in Seattle, like Tom Hanks's little boy's best friend. She helped him get a flight to Seattle. Yeah, I maybe know too much about her, and she's all grown up, and she was in this show, Good Girls. Did you watch that?
I've heard of it, but I didn't see it. No.
It's not the greatest show, and it was actually canceled, but it's her and Christine Hendricks and Retta. So, but I just love her.
Good Girls. It's not the one where they're like in a heist and it's like a criminal group type thing.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the
one.
one.
I have seen it. Actually, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, after 3 seasons, it got a little less good. I don't know. I might lose some fans for saying that, but I love her, and she doesn't seem like a douchebag. Anyway,
very cool.
So, we're not talking about celebrities today.
No.
Today, we're talking about my second favorite topic, which is ghost stories for Halloween.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
Me too.
So you've had some ghostly encounters.
Yeah. And, to be honest, I was always very skeptical, I think I've always had a question regarding, death. I think just from my past experience as a paramedic, even dealing with life and death and that kind of thing, and just kind of wondering what happens after. Is there anything, and I don't know. It's a question I think we all ask ourselves, even those who are religious or than those who are not. But I don't know. I never really bought into it. And I joined this group when I moved to Wisconsin. It had to have been like 2006. And that changed my mind for sure.
Wait, what group? You joined what group, Ian?
So they were called the Kenosha, I think, Paranormal Investigators or something like that. It was all the way down in Kenosha. I lived in Grafton, so
a big trek.
Yeah. And I just kind of, I don't know, I was just working a lot. I thought I need a hobby, I need to do something fun just to go whatever and explore. Yeah. And I came across this, it was like an ad or something, and they wanted somebody with like medical experience for some reason, for like their team, I guess, in case something were to happen or whatever. And anyway, whatever, I was an EMT, and I'm like, all right, screw it. This sounds like a cool little thing. Let's give it a whirl and see if any of this is real. And it's probably not. It's probably going to be all bullshit. So, but it's something to do with a Friday night that I didn't have plans otherwise. So
might as well.
And I ended up driving all the way down there to Kenosha and meeting a bunch of folks which, now that I think back on it, I'm like, damn, I didn't really know anybody. I could have been walking into like a crack house or something for all.
Yeah, for sure.
But,
or a cult or something.
Right? Yeah, I could have been there sacrifice for the night. But they were nice people. And so how it kind of went was it was the first like investigation. It was actually the only investigation I did with them, because afterwards I was just kind of like, all right, I'm a believer now. I don't need to do this anymore. But
wait, it wasn't their last investigation, but it was your first and last investigation.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I went into it really, really skeptical. I was just whatever. I think there was a portion of me that kind of believes, right, we're all composed of energy. Energy doesn't stop. It's got to go somewhere or whatever. So I could see it, but unless I experience something for myself, I that's kind of how I am, I have to hear it or see it with my own eyes. So this was an investigation of an old house. I wouldn't call it a mansion. It was a larger home though. And it very historic and old. It'd been around for years. I couldn't quote how many years at the time that it had been around, but it was just super old, creepy house. Right. And I don't know how they actually even found out about this house. I don't know if I think somebody must have kind of requested their services, because they lived there or they were trying to sell it or something like that. And the whole purpose of it was there was like paranormal activity. That was, the whole thing, right? Why we were there and why we were there. So the night kind of started off, I think I got there at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And I thought, well, this is kind of early. Like, don't ghosts come out at midnight or something if there's ghosts or whatever. But we kind of set up, and they had all this equipment that was so wild, stuff that I'd seen on TV and stuff, and I didn't really know much about it. They had to explain a lot of it to me, recording for electronic voice phenomena and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They also had motion sensors and detectors. They had something called a spirit box that would take supposedly some sort of signal. Somebody would have to look it up. I'm not going to claim to be an expert. I have no idea about this, but it takes signals and it can make words and sounds out of it or something and talk. And the theory is supposedly spirits or something could manipulate that or whatever to make words or something out of it. I don't know.
Like a translator, like a spirit translator.
For ghost. Yeah, okay. Exactly. I don't know, Babel for ghost or something. I don't know. So we were getting that all set up, and everybody was kind of from all walks of life. It was a pretty interesting group, I was kind of fascinated by that alone. You had kind of everybody, and some folks that were Wiccan, and they were really into the occult and everything like that. I'm like, that's cool, Mm-hmm. I'm just here to, see what this is all about, and God forbid anything happens, help out to the best of my abilities. So, most of the night we kind of split off and paired off into groups and things like that. And the whole goal was to just kind of really rile up anything that was in the house and ask questions and go in with curiosity, I guess, and I did. So I kind of went around myself with a electronic, it was a recorder, right? I think it wasn't a tape or it was a digital recorder at the time. And I just went around the house to weird areas like the bedroom, and they also had geothermal equipment that would show the temperature of the room and stuff. And that was really kind of interesting. That was the first kind of clue off where I'm like, oh, this is kind of weird. How does that happen? How do you just go from, we were just in a 70-degree area, and now it's this blue shade of and it's supposedly in the 50s or something. You could feel it physically being colder in a certain.
So you went to another area and it felt cold to you.
Totally. Yeah. So,
Okay.
and then I kind of went with that because I was like, all right, well, supposedly that's like an indicator of something, right? Maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's all it would take for me to convince me.
Really? Yeah. I want more than that. I want something to like pop out of the closet or like,
Right.
I mean, a full-on apparition would have been,
right.
But I didn't actually even need that. I mean, so I kind of went with that and just followed their advice. And they're like, if anything goes off, just ask questions and be curious and that sort of thing. And I'm like, who are you? Why are you here? What's the deal? Like, was this your house? Just asking a bunch of basic random questions, for probably like a solid like 30 minutes of just kind of in that spot, and then moving to different areas of the home, kind of doing the same thing if the thermal thing would change, and it would. It was kind of weird. Like it would just, certain spots would be really warm, and then you just have these like cold spots, and it was just bizarre, And I don't know, whatever. I'm not like an HVAC person or anything like that, if that's normal in houses or something. But I don't know. It happened.
Yeah.
So, I kept with that all night long, and there wasn't too much that was happening at the time that I could confirm where I'm like, I kind of got bored towards the end of it, to be honest, right? Because I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, so I'm getting some like flashes of saying that there were some lower temperatures, and all right, cool, whatever. But no, I need something more than this to make me a believer, And I remember, so we were starting to wrap it up, and it was probably around like 1 or 2 in the morning or so. And the lights came back on, and we've got the equipment, and then it was time to like sit down at the table all together and kind of go over the findings and play them back on a computer and stuff like that. And that's what scared the shit out of me.
You mean the spirit box had some recordings?
The electronic voice recorder, so just like a recorder, like a digital recorder that you speak into and have playing. You can play it back, and when you play it back, you can hear voices on it. It's the weirdest shit, I swear to God. And this is what made me a believer, where I was just like, I was there. I know I did not fuck with this tape or this digital recorder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no way I had access to it the whole time. Like, it was starting from 0 up and everything. So anyway, I remember we were going back over the equipment, and some people were having some things playing back, and it sounded like groans and moans and somebody trying to make words. And oh my God, I'll never forget it. It was something, I said something like to the fact of, what are you doing here? Do you live here or something like that? And oh God, it just gives me chills thinking about it. But like you hear, like, it sounds like this voice of an old woman, and it's faint, but you can hear it, and it says, "Won't you please just go away?" Just like and I nearly shit my pants. I mean, I was just like, no. I'm a believer. There's no way. How did that happen? Like there was no tampering with this. It made no sense to me whatsoever. So everybody's like, that is wild. How cool is that? I'm like, I don't know about cool, but I'm certainly a believer about it now. I mean, this is weird, and that was kind of one of the things that, after that, I'm like, I heard that,
Yes, you heard that.
I held that equipment. I knew where it was. Nobody could have tampered with it. Like, you couldn't have made that up, it was weird. So it was,
and she just wanted you to go away.
Yeah, that's all she wanted. And it was just like a whisper voice of, won't you please just go away? And I would play it back, and I was like, oh, it was the weirdest thing. But that was really what kind of made me like, a believer in all of that. And I just thought, that it makes sense, right? If you think about science and what we're taught with energy and the continuation of it all and things like that. But, it was wild.
Wow, Ian.
Yeah.
I mean, I might have run out of the room at that point, but
I mean, I probably looked like a ghost when I heard it, because I mean, I was just scared shitless. I'm like, how did this happen? I mean, and this logically, you're just thinking to yourself, this doesn't make any sense. I mean, it just goes against everything that, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I've always believed in ghosts though.
Okay.
And so, and last year, actually, I interviewed Katie Beth and we talked about, she like lived in a haunted house for a while. And I was like, I mean, I was there the whole time, like, oh yeah, I believe you. I've had a couple of, things happen that I told in that episode, but so I totally and I probably even look for, like, I'm the opposite of a skeptic. I probably see things in examples that actually don't exist, like,
All right.
oh, well, I saw this and then the next day I saw it again, so that must mean there's a ghost or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
right.
But
I've definitely become way more open because of that. Because I'm like, well, yeah, it exists in my mind now. I have proof, like I was there and it happened. So I mean, even with like this last, I was in New Orleans like a couple of months ago, and my friend and I went to an actual like a seance down there, and that was even really kind of wild for me. I mean, it. We were all around a table and it was like, I thought this was just kind of going to be like a parlor trick, basically, kind of New Orleans touristy thing. And it was weird. Some of the stuff that came up in there, and one of the things that she mentioned to me, which, in hindsight, it's kind of like that too, where it's like, well, did I just want to believe that? But I'm like, no, I mean, she was talking about a woman that was always at my side. She goes, but she's like a librarian. Like, she looks like a librarian to me. And I'm like, there's nobody that I know of in my family or anybody that was a librarian. But then I had this like picture in my head of this picture I remember of my Aunt Sue from back in the day. And my aunt was always very, first of all, she's British, my dad's side of the family, he's from England. So kind of stoic, I think what they say about the British, we show affection to dogs and horses. That's about it, something like that. You know what I mean? So she had that presence about her, but it was weird how that memory, that picture kind of went right into my head. And I thought, oh, that's Aunt Sue probably. You know what I mean?
Right.
I listened to this woman and I said, well, my aunt wasn't a librarian, but she dressed she's proper and she's kind of stoic sometimes and was a professional. And but it was interesting to see how that she kind of brought that up and then just talked about some other things. And I don't know, there's something to it. I think maybe just why would that picture like popped in my head otherwise? Well,
I think that, okay, so now I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute, because I think that people like psychics are trained to pick up on certain things. So they might start off with something very general, like, you have some pain in your past. Well, who doesn't have pain in their past? And then someone might be like, oh, like, you mean that, person died. And then the psychic's like, well, yes. That person was very important to you. So they start off with these very general statements, and the person brings then all of, really fills in all the details. Now, that being said, I actually went to a psychic once. I forgot about this story, and I don't think I told this story yet. I went to a psychic. This was many, many years ago. So my very good friend, Liz Becker, knows this psychic. His name is Mel.
Okay.
And let me just say, like, this is the field, like, to go into, because when I made the appointment, he was booking out a year, like a full year, and no insurance. It's all cash up front.
My God.
Yeah. So
there's psychologists that can't book out a year, right? I mean,
I know. So if you ever think about changing careers again, then maybe psychic is the career for you.
Yeah. Wow.
So, and my friend Liz is very, sensible and logical. And so she's not someone who would normally fall for anything, but I think her sister-in-law Steffi went to see this psychic Mel. I don't know, but she was like, and she saw him several times, and he wasn't right about everything, but he was like right about a lot of things. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go see Mel. I'm going to make this appointment. I waited a year. You go into his office, and he smokes like a chimney. He smoked the entire time that you're there. This was a long time ago, so we had a little tape recorder, so he'll record the session for you. And this interesting, this was such a long time ago, this interesting thing about, we were trying to decide about, I didn't even have questions for me. I had questions like for Steve, like what he should do, with his career or something like that. And we were talking about, should we stay here? Should we work with this person or that person? I don't know. And Mel said, well, I think, your husband, Steve, should call his friend Steve and talk to him about, working this, whatever it was. And I looked at Mel and I said, I didn't mention the friend Steve's name. So I was skeptical up until that moment that he said his name. And so I was like, how did you know that I didn't say his name? And, he's like, I am a psychic, probably, but so it was just something small like that happened. And I don't know, I felt like he gave us a little perspective. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so I don't even know how we got onto, and we were talking about like, the seance. She said there's a librarian, and you pull up this image of this, because you searched your mind.
Kind of, right? Yeah. So, and I'm thinking who, what, but this picture just came to me that I hadn't seen in years. You know what I mean? It's not like I had a picture of it. So, but maybe it is just like that. Like you're in that moment where your mind is like referencing back like a catalog,
Yeah. Right.
I don't know. It was really weird.
Yeah. So she said this person is with you all the time.
Yeah, she's like guiding you through life and everything. She's proud of your accomplishments and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, that's great. I mean, I'm not very close to my family, but if there was anybody, who I would be, it would be her for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was, even if it wasn't, and it was, she was full of shit, it was kind of comforting in that aspect. There were some people that were getting stuff out of it that seemed to be pretty on the money for them, but like what? Like somebody mentioned about death by suicide, and like this particular guy liked to do what's that called, fly fishing, and was talking about that and just kind of nailing different things down. I mean, I don't know, you think about it, right? A male, death by suicide, who liked to fly fish. I don't know, that it could be anybody, but specific, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
And that was really, really interesting. Somebody could really connect with that and kind of explored that more. And she was, she honestly believed it was her friend. So
yeah, right. So in the seance, there wasn't like the table shaking or.
No, I wanted it to. I was like, damn, like it was set up in this room where it was just all creepy looking, which she had the whole 9 yards, like the crystal ball and the weird setup. But because of COVID, like we weren't supposed to hold hands.
Oh, right.
So but we had masks on. So instead we touched each other's feet, like as far as like our shoes, like basically. They're like, put your shoe on top of the person's shoe next to you. Like, this is the weirdest shit ever, but okay.
Wait, I was first imagining, I don't know why, that you were all not in your shoes and like you're
barefoot, right.
Or no socks. I was imagining socks touching each other, which was still kind of creepy, but I don't know why I immediately thought of that.
Oh, so bizarre. I'm like, all right, some dude is next to me. I'm like, I guess we're touching feet here, so.
Like the whole time you had to do that?
No, it's just for the beginning to like open the circle or something like that, which was really interesting. But I mean, interesting. New Orleans, like you talk to, like there's a bar right next to the place and they're like, oh yeah. Like, I forgot her name already, but they're like some weird shit goes on there. I mean,
really?
Yeah. And I mean, the house that she works out of, there was like a horrific murder that happened in there, and it was like Dahmer style almost. It was disgusting.
Wow.
Yeah, and like so it had that kind of history to it there, that there were spirits, but she had all this haunted. She collected like supposedly haunted items of like different dolls and things like that. And there's a whole room of them, so that was kind of fascinating to see. I'm like, Um, there was
I mean,
all in the
no.
room too. She called him like Charlie or some shit, and that was kind of creepy because he's like staring at you. It was like a ventriloquist doll, basically. It looked
Yeah.
like sitting in a chair from across
Those are
the room
creepy.
from everybody. Yeah,
That's
they're creepy,
creepy.
right? And it's just staring at you, and it's like, well, maybe Charlie will help us, and she would reference him, and I'm like, is he going to do something? Like, but he doesn't. So it was kind
No, his eyes didn't move or anything like
of
that.
no, and I'm like, wait,
No.
I'm like, Charlie, do something, but never
Yeah. So, I mean, possibly things happen in much less dramatic ways than we're used to seeing in the movies, right?
for sure, right?
Why don't you just go home kind of thing.
Oh god, that was weird.
Like that was really subtle. They didn't like no furniture moved across the room, the lights didn't flicker, stuff like that. But
yeah, but that was enough. I was a believer.
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
there's no way that was tampered with whatsoever. I mean, I just thought you hear my voice and then you hear that, and it was just kind of this, I don't know, this aha moment where I'm like, oh shit, this is real, and then what happens after this, right? Like, and then is she stuck in limbo? Can she leave? Like, can she go have an afterlife somewhere? Like, what happens? Then you start.
well, it depends. Yeah. I mean, what I know about that, everything I know about ghosts, I've learned from the show Supernatural.
Okay.
Love
it. All right.
Yeah, 15 seasons of that show, or 16, like 20 episodes a season. So I consider myself an expert now in the supernatural. Right. But what's interesting about that is everything I've seen since that, like they had things on the show that first of all, every ghost they talked about, like I would Google, and they were it was based on a real like myth about a ghost, right? Sure. And then everything they did, like they would build the circle that you had to get inside. And I've seen that on several other things. Anyway, so they would say, like, ghosts are just these restless spirits, and they don't want to be there. They want to, if they're good, they want to go to heaven. They don't want to be like stuck in this like limbo state. Yeah. So, and they have to, like, for whatever reason, this is what happened. They had to stay in wherever they died. Maybe that's only if they were murdered, but I think they had to stay where they died. And the only way you could release them was to burn their bones.
Really?
Yes. So, but maybe I'm getting, it's been I watched that during the pandemic. That's the ever
watcher. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But maybe that was the demons. I could be getting them all confused right now.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And it's weird. So. You just kind of this like existential thing where you're just like, well, what the hell? Like, I don't want to get trapped in a house. Like, I hope I'm doing something and living my life or doing something, if I'm going to be carrying on after. So, but it was fascinating. Or then you start to think like, almost like Matrix style. Was this like a different dimension or something? Like, who knows?
Who knows?
But it was crazy. It was just something that was like, it just showed me there is something, And I had always heard stories working in the hospital and things like that. People would always have night shift stories and things like that about ongoings in the hospital. But, I never really. I mean, night shift nurses would talk about stuff all the time. I actually remember one time a nurse, swearing up and down, scared the shit out of her, that we had this, we actually had this area of the emergency room, and it was like just known to be the shitstorm area that if you're going to go work in that section, you're going to get the sickest patients, and they're probably near knocking on death's door. And we had 3 beds that just were notorious for that, and that happened all the time. Supposedly late at night, she said, and she will tell you to this day that this happened. She looked at like the cardiac monitor, and there was nobody in the bed, nobody hooked up to the monitor. No. And it had like a perfect, what we call sinus rhythm of a heart.
Yeah.
Not just artifact of like a thing, but like an actual heartbeat. And she went flying out of the room trying to pull people in. And when she got back with folks, of course,
Yeah.
And they're like, Mel, are you just tired? Or
yeah, right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
No, if I hear someone talking about that, I will definitely like insert myself in the conversation and be like, wait, you're talking about ghosts? Tell me more. I want to know more about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's fascinating to me now,
Yeah.
especially, I mean, because of that instance, I'm like, yeah, tell me all about it. Like, what's, the experience?
Yeah.
And I think it has made me more sensitive to it, where I'm just kind of like, I don't know, questioning things around me. If something goes bump in the night, I'm like, okay, what's that now?
Right. So do you do things like go to haunted houses? I mean, those are fake for sure, but do you
Yeah.
go like on Halloween to haunted houses and stuff like that?
No, I don't really go, no,
No.
especially the fake ones where they're coming at you with the chainsaws and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Oh no, I can't take that stuff. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, but, and, really even the experience of itself with like the whole ghost thing and this investigation, like when I think back, it was scary, but I was thinking, I'm actually like more scared of the living than I am the dead. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
Like,
the living totally suck.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
They could shoot me or something on the side of the street,
Yeah.
that house or something. But this little old lady on the EVP or whatever,
Yeah.
So,
She was pretty helpless.
yeah, I mean, but it was just kind of weird. I just kind of thought, oh, she's staying there. Is anybody
Yeah.
gonna help her?
And that's what the guys on Supernatural would say. Like maybe like twice in all of 15 years, the bad guy was like like a live person, not a ghost. And they would be like, oh yeah, the living people are much worse than the ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
So,
think that's kind of how I feel about it to this day. Even if, like, living by myself or something, if I hear something, I mean, whatever, But I'm definitely more open to it now. It's like I am open to it.
yeah.
I think it definitely there's something after this, and that
Yeah.
whether that could be a different dimension or whatever, and energy continues.
Energy continues.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm also a believer in like weird coincidences and stuff like that.
well, me too. Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
or like what?
Like kind of deja vu and
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I probably talked about this already, but like like movies, like The Exorcist had all these weird things happen.
Yeah.
When they were filming and after filming and everything like that. Yeah. Like I'm totally like, ooh, tell me more about that. Like I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, and for me, I was always kind of thinking after this experience, I'm like, well, are there like bad ghosts? Are there good ghosts? Are they just, like, how does this work? But I think I read it somewhere and somebody summed it up. I think it was somebody who, whatever, they claim they're a spiritual expert, whatever. But, they basically said, if you're an asshole in this life, you're probably going to be an asshole in the next.
Yeah.
And you just don't.
Those are the demons. The demons were the bad ghosts.
Gotcha.
On this show.
Right. Yeah.
I'm talking about it like it's real life, but
who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, all I know is I heard this woman on a tape and or on a digital player and I just thought to myself, wow, that is my evidence right there. There's just no way,
Yeah.
But I do believe in deja vu and coincidences and things. I think things are kind of meant to happen, and we all kind of experience that at some point where you just kind of are like, this isn't happenstance,
Yeah, for sure. Have you had that happen to you?
I think a couple times, but just subtle things, just like, I don't know. I remember even one time I was walking in Chicago, right? And this isn't a common name or anything, but I just moved to Chicago. I lasted like 9 months there. I mean, nothing against Chicagoans. It just was not for me. I had to come back to Milwaukee. But, and I was just walking around the neighborhood, just kind of aimlessly like, God, should I be here? Kind of just a little down and just confused about the whole decision to be there, missing my friends. And then I remember looking up at the street sign and it said Winona Street. And I was like, oh my God, my grandma's name was Winona. Like, how weird is that? And that's not a common name. And I just kind of, why did I notice that? I don't normally just look up at street signs. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I didn't have a purpose. I was just kind of exploring the neighborhood. So
yeah,
that kind of was something I remembered where I was like, maybe that is something. Maybe that's like a little sign, A
sign that you should go back to Milwaukee?
Or just that, calm down, shit's cool, watching Obria or something, like, don't worry about it. But I just found that kind of to be interesting. I'm like, not really a common name that you would really see. So
Right, right. I don't even know where in Chicago that is, Winona Street.
yeah, I mean, it was so I was living in not near Andersonville, so kind of near that area, north side.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, but I don't know, and I think I kind of look for it more in life now, where I'm just like, if you feel that deja vu sensation,
Uh-huh.
I've become more open to the whole like past lives theory too. I think that's really
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah. What do you think about that? What do you have
I
some?
think it makes
There's
the
some.
most sense to me, actually, kind of.
Yeah. Do you hear the barking in the background?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hang on. I'm just going to close the door. One
No
second.
worries.
We should definitely keep this in the recording.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm constantly doing that in my sessions. Lucy will start barking and I'll be like, hang on, let me close the door. Let me whatever. And I'll be like, Lucy, cut it out.
It's part of this being at home stuff, right?
Yeah. So I'm sorry, you were saying.
Oh yeah, no, just the past life thing. I think, definitely over the years, and especially with that instance, I'm kind of like really open to it. Kind of makes the most sense to be in the sense that where, you feel somebody that have you ever just met somebody and you feel like, God, I know you from somewhere, like you're an old soul and like you're very wise and experienced, like,
yeah.
I don't know, that kind of makes sense to me. But then I also applied it to like when I used to work with kids that were really ill in a hospital and stuff like that. And I thought, God, who would allow this? Like, if there was a God or something, like, why would this happen? What's the purpose? And then the past life theory was kind of like these are older souls, like in bodies to teach those around them. And if you look, most of the time with these children, like their families come together again that may be broken because of the circumstance. And children were never, I don't know, they're probably because they're naive too, right? About death and all of that. But it's not like when adults die, right? Like it's more peaceful. So it kind of made sense to me in that way when I thought about it, where I was like, I could see that these being older souls here to teach, and they're just here for a short time,
So I just remembered something.
Yeah.
So first of all, have you ever read the book Many Lives, Many Masters?
I have. Yes.
Yeah. So if that doesn't convince you that past lives are a thing, like I don't know what will, but
right.
Right. So I did this thing. So I had this when I turned 40, I had a bit of an existential crisis. And I was just like, oh my God, like, I don't even know. I was freaking out. So I went and I took a weekend class in Reiki.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Yeah. So, like healing by touch.
Yep.
And I took it like this like school in Grafton, I don't know. And it was just like 2 days. So the first day you like one of the women who taught the class was like basically like a past lives like teacher or something. So she totally believed in that.
All right.
And all about so I don't even know. You don't even have to touch people in Reiki. You just like hold your hands over their different like spots of energy and you can heal that way. Anyway, so all these like weird things happened, but after went home the first day, like practiced on people, I don't know what I'm doing. And then came back the next day and the teacher said to everybody, did anyone have any interesting things happen overnight? And this one guy said, well, actually I did. He was like probably the only man in the room too. He was like in the army. And while he was in the army, he lost his like sense of smell. It's like he maybe had some trauma and lost his sense of smell.
Yeah.
And when he woke up after the first day of Reiki class, he could smell.
Isn't that wild? Wow.
Yes. And I was totally like, oh my God. And of course I went home and told Steve and he's like, that didn't happen. And I'm like, of course it happened. Like, I just believe whatever people say to me. So I'm like, yes, that happened. But after that class, like I kind of felt like this door had come down around me.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly I like just became aware of stuff.
Yeah.
Like I just felt like I don't know, like open. First of all, I found out like some people that I knew really well, like my rabbi was a Reiki master. I had no
Oh
idea.
wow, and that's wild.
Yeah. And I found out like some, good friends of mine had like, interesting experiences. But I also had this weird dream one night. I just remembered this. I dreamt about I have a friend, Sarah.
Mhm.
Um, and I just dreamt we were like in some jungle is the only word I can come up with to describe this at the moment, but like in some like jungle together, and we were talking like we knew each other, but we weren't. We were in different lives, right? It
Okay.
wasn't me, Stacey, married to Steve with these kids. It was just like this other me, and she was this other person, and we were kind of drawn to each other. And it was, Sarah, State, whatever. But the thing is that the dream. Do you ever have a dream that like just felt like so immersive?
Yeah.
Like it
Totally.
didn't feel like a dream. It
No.
felt
Yeah.
like this was a moment from like another dimension that was really
Yeah.
happening.
Totally.
Now, here's the weirdest part about that. Okay. Like 2 days later, I went to a party at a friend's house and Sarah was there. And I went up to her and I said, I had this weird dream about you the other night. And she said, I had a dream about you too.
Oh, that is weird.
Now, they were totally different dreams,
Yeah.
right? So it wasn't like the same dream, but I took that as like, oh my God. Like, so like the veil's been lifted and now I'm going to be, like open to weird experiences. Now, I can't say I've had like a million other weird experiences, but
Yeah.
that was like a really powerful like thing.
Yeah.
Like I want to say like we want to think there's something else there.
Totally.
We want to think it doesn't just end, right? We want to think that we can follow our nephew Ian around if we want to and look out for him or whatever. So, but maybe that's okay.
Right. Exactly.
That we want to believe it, and so then we do.
Yeah. Right.
I'm okay with that.
And it's like I'll continue to be open to everything after that one experience because I'm like, that just kind of proved to me that all right, well, there's something that happens after this. Because I mean, how did this lady end up on this tape? And
yeah,
it was weird. It was just kind of not that I was an atheist or didn't think that life continued, but I didn't know for sure, right? Who does?
Right.
And it's kind of like that just reaffirms it when you hear it, you're there and you have that experience, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
This is real. It's
yeah.
Real,
Have you seen that movie, What the Bleep?
No.
So this is this very weird movie. It's about, I can't ever remember what the name of this thing is. What's that like physics, that weird physics?
Yeah.
Crap. I know. I could look it up. But yeah. I can't, if I look up weird physics, I don't know if that will come up. Weird physics. No, that's not a thing to look up, weird physics, but it'll come to me. Astrophysics, quantum physics. Okay. So it's kind of about that. And it's about, they just talk about like all these like things that happen. Like, so one thing I remember is like these different icicles that had people praying over them, and one icicle had people having like happy prayers, and another icicle had people mean prayers and different things, and all the icicles like did different things. I don't know. I'm not explaining it well, but that's again something that I would be like, yes, that's a fact now, and that means that this is real. And again, I went and told Steve, and he's like, nope, that's not a thing. He's a scientist, so he's very, but I used to be like, I only believe, well, no, I've always believed in ghosts, but other than that, I was like, nah, but no, I was totally taken in by that.
Yeah. And I think it's just your own experiences you have along the way that kind of just open you up to where it's like, okay, well, I don't know. I never claimed to know anything anyway. In fact, I whatever. I don't claim to know shit about anything, but I mean, but it's just your own personal experiences in life that you have, and then when you have those, they're profound, right? And it's
Right.
like,
and it's all, I mean, the movie, it's all about like it's energy, right? It's all about this energy. I better close this now because otherwise it's going to start making noise. And but anyway, yeah, that's really something. But
yeah,
it's fun.
It's fascinating. It is fun to think about, and it's fun to always kind of discuss and get others' viewpoints on it and see, what's your opinion? What do you think? Whatever your experience has been. So
did you think you were going to be a paranormal investigator?
No way. No. I mean, literally it was just out of sheer boredom. Swear to God. I mean, it was just kind of like, literally, I had nothing to do. I didn't really know anybody up here. My ex, I came up here for, I was young and dumb. And I thought I just need a hobby or something. He was working second shift and nights or something like that. And I was like, well, what the hell am I going to do? So, and then they put out this posting and I was like, all right, well, hey, I'm an EMT. I can help out. And ghost. All right. Don't believe in it, but hey, I'll give it a whirl and see what happens. And first and last time.
Well, Ian, I think that you and I should go to like a real haunted house together. Like, there's lots of places in Milwaukee that are supposedly haunted.
Yeah. That would be fun. That'd be great.
Yeah. Let's do that.
A little, we could record it there. And
we could record it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Maybe we could even like post on Facebook to say, hey, who's got a haunted house with some verifiable experiences, and mark it that way and figure it out. I'd be down.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. That would be awesome.
Because you hear about stuff like the Pabst and all that, but it's like, tell me about something new, right? Tell me about something that maybe is not really heard of or known that well. So,
well, if you listen to Amy Ferrante's episode, she used to have a. 1 second, I'm sorry.
No worries.
FYL. Go. Raphael does not want to come to the haunted house with us.
No.
But so Amy Ferrante used to have a business in a hotel, and the hotel was haunted. Where there was like this ghost guy, and literally like this woman came to pick up food one day, and like the ghost went home with her. And Amy was totally like, oh yeah, that's our ghost. What's his name? Like I'll come over and tell him to come back. She's very matter of fact about it.
Wow.
Like, this hotel was haunted. So we could try to go to that hotel if it's still standing, or.
I mean, hey, speaking about dogs, they always say pets are where it goes too. You ever heard that? Where it's like, there's something about dogs now barking at the corner of a room that always creeps me out, because I'm like, all right, what do you see over there? What's going on?
I mean, that dog is afraid of everything. He won't even go. He doesn't even want to go outside at night anymore. But
yeah. I mean, mine's old, and he's kind of demented. I can't trust him to be a ghost expert by any means.
Right.
When he was younger, it kind of freaked me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, stay tuned, everybody, because maybe Ian and I will go to a haunted house together. I mean,
Stacey goes ghost hunting.
It would be nice if it wasn't COVID, but
Yeah, I know.
I mean, we can wear masks.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. I'm down. Let me know.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ian, for coming on. I really appreciate it. I loved hearing your stories, and I look forward to the next chapter where we go to a haunted house and see how that goes. Yeah, that'll be really great.
Well, thanks for having me. It's always fun, and it's great break in the week, and it's always a fun conversation. We always have good conversations.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you have a good rest of your night and rest of your week, and
too.
I'll see you on Facebook. Okay.
All righty. Take care.
Okay.